Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We'll just let everyone arrive, settle into the space, make yourselves comfortable. And you won't need much for this evening, but you'll need a paper and pen and perhaps a candle if you have access to one. Just really taking a moment to arrive. Some people are still joining us, but I think we will dive in and begin. I'll just make sure that I can see you all. And just for now, I'm just going to do this so you can see me. Welcome, everyone, to this 3-day immersive. And I'm so grateful to you all for making the time to be here and making the time to be here live. And I've been running this experience for a few years, and it always astounds me the beautiful things that happen in the space. So come along tonight, come along tomorrow, and come along on Wednesday. There is going to be so much richness in this space, and I'll talk you through in a moment what we're going to do and to give you a little bit of a sense of what you can expect. And I must say, I only realised yesterday that we're gathering on the autumn equinox for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, so an extra special time to gather. But first, I wanted to say hello. Some of you know me really well. Some of you have just come across myself and Sister Stories. So I'll give you a little bit of background to me and a bit of a sense of what to expect from this space. So my name's Gemma Brady. I'm the founder of Sister Stories, and we're the UK's leading women's circle organisation. And my personal mission with Sister Stories and those who we teach and train to hold circle is to try and make it part of the mainstream once more, to try and make it as going as common to yoga class. And we train hundreds of facilitators a year in our accredited programs, and we have tens of thousands of women join us for our free programs, of which this is one, to take a step into taking this work of circle out into their communities and make real world impact. And it's worth saying that we have the full spectrum of different types of women working with us, from the ages of 18 to 80, from doctors who take this work into the NHS to people who do gatherings in their living room. Emma on the team has a beautiful monthly circle in her living room, which is a wild success, to people who take it into charities and community centres and domestic violence settings. There are so many ways to do this work. And I really believe that we need a genuinely diverse set of people out there doing this work, and that includes you. So, there are many reasons we're here, but one of the reasons we're here is that it really feels to me, and I say this each time we gather, and then the urgency gets more. The world has never needed more connected, compassionate spaces to come together in truth-telling, in vulnerability, in togetherness. And we need these kinds of spaces in our world. But more than that, we need compassionate leadership in our world in a way that we haven't before. We can probably all feel it in our different communities, in our different countries that we're in. You know, we really need compassionate leadership in 2025. And my challenge to you this week is for each of you, in your own way, to take a step closer to becoming your own version of a compassionate leader, the kind of compassionate leader that you were always meant to be in your own way. And holding circles is one of the most powerful ways to step into that leadership and to challenge the patriarchal model of what a leader should be. You know, I've used the word leader, that carries connotations for many of us. And in the next few days, beginning tonight, I'm going to be showing you how. So we're going to talk about what circle work is in a moment. But I really just want to root into this idea of its power in our world today. It's incredibly powerful. And I don't believe that it can save the world in the immediate future. The world has incredibly complex issues that Circle itself will not solve. But what I do believe, and I do know to be true about it, it's a space where we can be really deeply human, where we can remember that underneath all of the noise and all of the difference, we are more similar than we are different. And in this world that often feels like it's centered on polarization and lack of tolerance, we can reclaim what it is to be human and start to build bridges back to one another. And in fact, interestingly, one of my special areas of interest at the moment is the ways in which circle work has been used as a tool of peace and reconciliation in organizations in all parts of the world for many, many decades, and I would imagine centuries. So I'm inviting you to these 3 weeks. I was going to say 3 weeks with me. That would be quite a lot to do every night, but who knows? 3 days initially. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, some of you know me, some of you don't. And to me, trust is something that I build and I don't assume. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time tonight just giving you a sense of what kind of space this is and the kind of philosophy that I bring. And you can see if you resonate with that. And then we'll do that. We will define what circle is. There are many different definitions of what it means to gather women in circle, and all of you will want to work exclusively with women. It's worth saying that the principles of facilitation that I'm going to share apply to any gender. So some people work with women, some people work with mixed groups, some people work with just men. There's so many different ways to do it. And I'm going to explain what circle is, share a bit about my values, and then we're going to do some meditative work to connect to connect you to your unique vision for how you might do this and the impact that you might have. So I mentioned earlier that we're in a polarized world, and it feels really important for me to say upfront what I stand for, what Sister Story stands for, and what kind of space this is. So again, you can see if it resonates with you. So I stand against oppression in all forms. I stand against authoritarianism. Can I say it? Authoritarianism, domination, and silencing. I stand for equity and dignity and belonging. I stand for trans lives and queer lives, for everybody's right to be safe and seen. I take a stand against genocide. I take a stand for listening across difference. And I take a stand for the possibility of another world where we practice the humanity that so many of us are longing for, but that's been lost in so many ways. And so that's what I stand for. This is weaved into my circle practice, the way that I hold space, who I welcome into the space. And it always has been in the 8 or so years that I've been running Sister Stories. And I name these because they underpin everything that I do, and they'll help you know and have a sense of, like I said, if this is the space for you and this is the kind of approach. And I just want to offer us all a big clarion call to say it's not too late to remember our humanity. It's not too late to affect change. There is so much that we can do, and each of us can hold a different thread in this tapestry of reweaving the world that we want to see out there. This is my offering, and perhaps it will become yours as well. Okay. Before we go any further with me talking about the possibility of circle, I would love to just invite a little bit of input from you about when I talk about gathering people in circle, what does that mean to you? What do you understand that to mean? We'll try and get a bit of a working definition and I'll read some of them out. Connection, community and love, humanity, unity, primal connection, inclusion, support, open space, sharing stories, freedom, vulnerability, tribe, village, restoration, voices, tenderness, mutual support, beautiful, a safe space, peace, openness, care, sisterhood, belonging, equity, mending, oneness, incredible, being heard. I know the chat is moving very quickly and you won't be able to see everyone's responses and I can't read out everyone's responses. But it's amazing that so many of us are here from so many different walks of life, from different backgrounds, from different from different lived experiences. And we can see these common threads that are coming through: compassion, connection, community, sharing, trying to create a safe space, inclusion, being held, being heard, being seen. So with these definitions going on in the chat, I'm going to try and share some of my definition of circle. And it's very simple. And it's not, I've never managed to get it into a line. I'm really sorry. So I'm going to try and offer you a couple of different thoughts. It's a sacred space where we can try and we can truly access and express our humanity. It's a place for us to gather and weep and grieve and celebrate and really touch into our hearts. It's a place which really weaves together ritual and intention to enter a different way of being. One that's slower and more softer and that resists that patriarchal oppressive urge to always move forward and always be in progress, whatever that means, always achieving something. I often talk about circle as not being an outcome-based space, but being an experience-based space. It doesn't matter where we get to necessarily, it's the experience that we have in it. And there isn't one universal definition of circle, but that's some of my definition. And perhaps this week, you will get closer to realizing your own version of this work, your own version of circle. And perhaps you'll be brand new, perhaps you'll be an experienced facilitator who's just here to connect and get some new ideas, and all of you are welcome. And my work here today in particular, and to deepen in the next few days, is to invite us into that vision that I mentioned at the beginning, a vision where circle becomes mainstream once more. A vision where you, each of you, are out there holding circles in your community in your own way. A vision where you are creating spaces for people to experience this really subtle yet really powerful transformation that can happen in circle space. A vision where all of us together are bringing this work right from the top to those who are running society. Lord knows they need it. Right to the most vulnerable in society who need that mutual care. And a vision where some of you are using circle to heal conflict and division. And, I could go on and on and on. The possibility of this vision is endless. And there are so many of you here, and there will be so many of you watching. And I just wonder what would happen if each of us actually went out there and did something with it. So we're going to start to connect to your vision this evening as a first step in bringing it to life. I'm conscious that I haven't shared anything yet about Sister Stories, other than that it's a women's circle organisation. And perhaps I'll dive into a bit more of my story over the coming 3 nights. But I just want to share my experience of finding myself doing this work, which was surprising to me. My background is I was a documentary maker. I kind of happened and stumbled into holding circles. And then over the last 8 or so years, I've built Sister Stories into what it is now, where I work with thousands of getting tongue-tied, thousands of women a year, which wasn't what I expected to do. And it's a great privilege. And I should mention, as I stumble over my words, I'm not a natural public speaker. I get really nervous holding groups, even though I've been doing it for so long. And I have a great passion for inviting those of you who have even, who have quieter voices, who don't see yourself as a natural leader. There is a way for you into this work as well, because it's really easy to find someone on the internet who looks like they look confident and has lots of people in the room. And actually, this has been a really powerful journey for me to get to this place where, yes, I do stumble over my words, but I'm still here with my wide open heart and my intention for this to share with you. So if you're a quieter person, you are especially welcome here. So I stumbled into this work, and the best way I can express my experience of holding sister stories and doing this work of spreading the word of circle is it's like I'm tending this gentle fire, tending it stick by stick by stick through building my own practice. And then I go out into the world and I invite you, each of you, to bring your torch and come and light it at the fire, and to go out and take it into your own communities in your own way. And then I imagine you all doing that, and like almost like a bird's eye view, like a view of the globe from space, of all these little fires everywhere, with all of these circles happening everywhere, and each of us having that impact in our community. So that's what we're going to look to move towards, where you can start to take real world action. How does that sound as a place to begin? I'm enjoying these emojis. I've never seen Zoom do that before. It's lovely, all the like exploding hearts and thumbs up. Wonderful. And I don't know if any of you have been to lots of free online experiences before, but lots of them are quite sort of like jazz hands and really like loads of information and loads of slides and loads of pace. And this is a bit different because it's more subtle, it's a bit slower, and I'll be presenting you with many questions as well as answers. So my invitation to you is to let this be a slow and subtle experience. Let ourselves, for those of us who are so conditioned to always be moving forward, wanting answers now, I'm going to share about how I hold circles, but I'm not going to do it tonight. I'm going to lay the first layer of foundation, which is your vision. Okay, I'm curious before we go any further. What is it about circle that's drawn you here? Like, why are you here tonight? Just a word or a sentence in the chat box. Community, connection, curiosity, belonging, learning, healing, women, opportunity, learning, curious, timing, the call. Oh my gosh, I feel like the call should be capitalized. I heard the call and it's taken me in my life in a completely unexpected path. Reclaiming the sacred, reset, gentle rebellion. I am here for gentle rebellion. That sounds fantastic. The well maidens, drawn to it, rewilding, holding space. Beautiful. Okay. Let's see how we are for time. Beautiful. I'd love to hear, actually, before I go any further, perhaps you can share in the chat, who's brand new to Holding Circle and who has experience of it already? New, some experience, one experience, brand shiny new, new-ish, some experience. Amazing. So we've got a mix of experienced, someone saying accidental experience, I relate to that, and brand new. Beautiful. One of the things I find with this work is that, in some learning, you have a beginning and you have an end where you have, obviously all learning is ongoing, so that's a bit of a crude thing to say, but some types of experience or practice, you start at point A and you move towards point B, and it's a linear path there because the learning is factual and it's indisputable, and it's, A, B, C gets you to the end point. With this, it's a spiral. no matter how much I hold the space and I learn about the space and I am taught about this space by teachers and elders and those who practice it more than me, I am always in this spiral of learning. So I really hope that those of you who are doing it already will find something fresh and new to inspire and deepen your practice. And those of you who are brand new, you'll be going on your first what's the word? Journey? Do we journey around a spiral? I don't know, on your first journey around the spiral. But as a foundational practice, there's one thing I want to say actually about space holding that surprises some people. And it's that people think that holding space and holding circle in particular is all about tools and techniques and what you do in the room. And that is true to an extent. There are there's huge amount of importance with the tools and techniques and what you do in the room. That's indisputable. What is even more important is what happens before you enter that room. And we'll be talking about this much more tomorrow. But 80% of your facilitation, what you do to create the kind of space which will feel robust and ethical and beautifully held, will happen before you even set foot in it. And so this is part of this foundations for that. And I've touched into the idea of vision quite a few times tonight, and all powerful work has to start with a vision. And I'm going to invite us into looking at our own vision, our collective vision, and our own vision, our community vision, and our collective vision this evening. So if you've got a paper and pen, you might want to just draw three little circles. I often think of it as a Venn diagram because they intersect in the middle. But if it's easier for you, you might want to draw three circles with three words in them. Vision for myself, vision for my community, and vision for the world. I'm really active in the self-development space. I love it. And, the idea of being invited into a vision for myself and my work is really familiar to me. But what we're going to do here tonight goes a layer deeper than that. We're going to be doing something that stretches our imagination beyond visioning and actually roots us into something else, which is remembering. Remembering this impulse we have to gather in circle that is ancient. Remembering this feeling that we have in our bones, that there is something about this practice that is primal and vital. Remembering the way we used to gather, remembering the practices that have been lost, really touching into that part of ourselves that hungers for ritual and fire and song. So whilst we I had been muted somehow. Did I do it with my hand when I was gesturing? Sorry about that, everyone. Emma from the team, maybe you could tell me what the last thing I said was.
It went in and out. So I think you were explaining the three circles, but actually, if you want to start there, because I know there's quite a few people that would love to hear the titles for the three circles again that you've asked us all to draw. So go from there.
Okay. So, oh, it's a shame my sound went. I was really into what I was saying then. So I talked about drawing three circles, and we'll go into these again. My vision for myself, my vision for my community, and my vision for the world. And we'll give you a reminder of those so it doesn't matter if you don't write them down right now. But I was talking about the process that we're going to go on this evening of rooting. We're going to do something beyond vision. We're going to root into remembering. So remembering the sense of what it is to gather around the fire. remembering what it is to feel circle in our bones, remembering the part of us that craves fire and story and song and coming together in that way. And don't worry if this feels unfamiliar to you in some way, or you're like, I'm not quite sure what she's talking about yet. I was just here to learn what a circle is, and this all feels a bit, that's okay. We're going to get there. I'm going to invite you to resist that impulse to pull away, and I'm going to invite you to lean in. So we're going to spend some time really listening inwards, rooting into remembering if you can, taking some time to be with this idea of the power of gathering in circle. And to begin, I'm just going to invite us all to light a candle together to open our space in that way. Suzanne saying 1,000 people around a fire. Yes. Okay. So making sure you're really comfortable where you're sitting. I invite you to take a few deep breaths, to close your eyes or to soften your gaze. Taking a deep breath, perhaps the deepest breath you've taken all day. Notice how it feels to be in this space with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other women who believe in this work too, who feel this deep pull to gather women in circle. And some of you might feel like being in this space is coming home. Some of you might be feeling a little less sure. Perhaps there are patterns of feeling like an outsider or that you don't know if you belong, and that is okay. Know that here, all of you is truly welcome. The parts of you that are uncertain and tender and unsure, and the parts of you that are full of fire and inspiration and energy. Round our fire, there's space for both. You're in the right place. And so as you sit there in your seat, I invite you to imagine that we're gathered around a fire, sitting shoulder to shoulder to shoulder to shoulder in a circle. And there's a woman on your left, there's a woman on your right. And in the center, the fire crackles. And perhaps you can feel it as you sit there in this space of other beating hearts and breathing lungs. This place that is so simple, yet so alive, with a sense of something ancient, a sense of connection, a sense of belonging, a sense of togetherness. And perhaps the part of you that drew you here, that held that curiosity about circle, has found its home. As you sit in this space with thousands of other women across the globe who will access this, and all your ancestors before you, who also gathered around a crackling fire to share voice and story and song. And there was something that drew you here tonight to this space. See if you can make space to listen to that voice. What does it want you to know? What drew you here? And why are you really here? Why are you really here? Listen to what comes up. For some of you, it might be images or sounds or song. For some of you, it might be words. For some of you, it might be a felt sense that doesn't shape itself into words yet. Just sit and listen. Remember. Receive. You've got full permission to be with whatever is arising in the moment for you. Even if you're still finding it hard to be here because you've got distractions in the background or someone pulling you in another direction, or you're frazzled for your day. See if you can drop in a little deeper. And that part of you that's drawn to this work, what does it want you to know? What does it want you to know? Just taking a minute or so to be with that question. That part that drew you here, what does it want you to know? Why are you really here? And there's nowhere to go, nowhere to get to, nothing to rush towards, but simply that inquiry. Just going to invite you to be with that just a moment longer. And very shortly, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes, but to stay in this quality of connectedness, of inquiry, as if we're still around the fire, still in that energetic space, but just with our eyes open this time. And so feeling your feet firmly planted, excuse me, on the ground, taking a few deep breaths and opening your eyes if you did have them closed. I'm going to invite you to take just a couple of minutes to be with that question, with what came up for you in that space. And the questions, I offered a couple. The part that drew you here to circle, what does it want to know? What does it want you to know? And why are you really here? But this invitation isn't about answering the questions precisely. It's about getting on paper, committing to paper what came up with you for you. Any visions you had, any senses you had, any words, any images. We're just going to take a couple of minutes and I'll play some music again, just to be in the space of capturing what arose for you. And perhaps you might want to write a stream of consciousness if it doesn't feel clear yet. If your answers are blank, that's okay. Just lean in to this quiet space for the next few minutes and see if anything else arises. You might want to read what people are sharing in the chat. You might just want to listen to the music. You might just want to sit with that question. And some of you are doing it already. But if you haven't, perhaps you might want to share one of just distilling down to a sentence, the most powerful, potent thing that's come up for you. To understand the woman next to me, be part of something bigger than me. Gosh, it's going to move too fast for me to read. It's time. I feel guided. Overcome shame. All of me is safe here. It's what I feel called to do. I'm ready to gather the lost. Confirmation. Belonging. These are my gifts to share with the world. I'm perfect as I am. to be free of assumptions, honoring the women around me, reducing pressure to comply to patriarchal ideals, space to feel. Yes, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So that's your sense of what drew you here. And I'm going to invite us to get even more specific with our vision, why we might be doing this. And I talked about those three circles earlier: what you want for yourself, what you want for your community, and what you want for the world. And I'm going to talk about each of those things one by one and then invite you to feel into them a little bit more. And I talked about a Venn diagram and the ways which self, community, and the world intersect. But actually, the first circle I'm going to invite you to focus on is what you want. Someone said in the chat, I want to heal from a broken heart. Is that okay? Like, is that selfish? And I have to tell you, no. Circle has this incredible quality of reciprocity where it heals us as we hold it. And obviously, as a facilitator, if we're going to be a responsible, ethical facilitator, we don't want to sort of inappropriately pour ourselves and our woes into the space rather than holding it. But I have to tell you, the last 3 years of my life have been absolutely horrific in so many ways. If I were to list the number of things that have happened, it just is, it's been deeply traumatic. I am a single mum of two very small children, and so I've got them to hold. And the one thing that has kept me stable throughout all of this is holding circle. Because even though I'm not there to share about what's happened in my personal life in that way, through holding the space, I am healed each and every time. And so it has to start with us, because when we create the kind of space that we yearn for, we're so deeply invested that people feel our heart. They want to gather, they want to be with us, they want to come to our space. And then we have the absolute immense privilege of listening and holding the space for others. And I don't know, perhaps others of you who are experienced in holding circle can share in the chat what it does for you physically. I come away feeling like I've been emptied out and I'm just this, I often feel like I've sort of dipped into a real cool lake of calm. Whatever is going on in my external life, circle grounds me. Yeah, people saying restored, calm. It can do so much for us. And I talked earlier about, my personal journey with finding my voice and gaining my confidence and stepping into what feels like the deepest act of service that I can bring to these times. And there is so much that I could say about what it's done for me, but I really want you to think today about what you want it to do for you and be selfish with it. It's so rare that we are. We're going to spend some time on that. The next circle to focus on is its impact on the community. When we create circles, we are circle by circle by circle, creating small ripples that go on to transform the lives of other women. There's a woman who I have been connected to for 8 years. She came to some of my very first circles. She had a huge realization about I'm just trying to find a way to say this that protects confidentiality, that she was walking the wrong path in life during a circle. She then radically changed her life. She then went on to train in circle, and she's now holding beautiful grief circles herself. The ripples of her being in that space have gone out and out and out to not only my ripple started by impacting her, and then she has now gone out and is impacting others in her life. So when we create circle spaces, we are so often creating the spaces that people's souls crave. We are allowing this deep sense of belonging and connection and a space where we can share vulnerably, where we can weep, where we can grieve, where we can be joyful. Sometimes it's more vulnerable to be joyful and to celebrate than it is to bring tears to the space. Some of you will want to go out and hold those kind of joyful spaces specifically. There is room for that too. It's not always just about depth. It can be about the depth of expression of joy. So this is deep, deep service. And that is part of what you get to do in terms of impact. So we're going to think about what you want to do. And then we've talked already about the impact on the world. I've touched into, we know and we can feel that the world is complex and it's hurting and we've got terrible atrocities occurring every day all over the world in different ways. And I don't know about anyone else, but I sometimes sort of get whiplash from the news thinking this is just getting more and more terrifying. And yet, there's this sort of little kernel of hope that I hold, which is what I know to be true about humanity is that at its core, at our core, we're craving connection and belonging. We have been raised in societies and cultures where division is rife. We can feel this increasing polarization. The narrative of white supremacy, capitalism, ideologies of separation are pushed and perpetuated over togetherness. And we will not change this with a single circle. We just won't. But what I believe to be true is that because circle spaces are one where we can come together despite our differences, where they each hold the potency and power to effect local change, we can start to create big ripples collectively, where we can start to really find the threads of humanity that connect us all. And there's a wonderful woman, she's called Jean Shinoda Berlin. She is one of the mothers, I suppose, of the resurgence of women's circles in the West. And she talks about the idea of the millionth circle. So the idea is that when there is a critical mass of women out there holding circles, there will be a big shift in the way society works because their healing power has infiltrated society in some way. She's called Jean Shinoda Berlin. And that's what we're doing here today. We're each stepping into our own vision of how we might contribute in some form to that ripple effect on a world level. So I am going to invite you into a couple of questions, and I'm just going to ask you in a moment just to pause in the chat so Emma from the team can put the questions in the chat. So I'm going to give you questions for yourself, your community, and the world, and we're only going to have time to focus on one today. So if you really need the healing, pour into the question for yourself. If you're feeling that communal minded space, pour into that. If you're really holding that vision for the world, pour into that. So for yourself, what does circle mean for you personally? And what healing or reclamation do you hope circle will offer you? So what does circle mean to you personally, and what healing or reclamation do you hope circle will offer you? And just start with my vision for myself through holding circle is. My vision for myself holding through circle is. I'll just repeat that. Someone say it's too fast. And I'm going to just give you the sentence to complete. My vision for myself through holding circle is. And I can see Emma's popped it in the chat, so you can fill into that. Next, a question, if you want to fit into community. Who do you feel called to hold space for? And what kind of transformation or connection could circle bring to them? So who do you feel called to hold space for? And what kind of transformation or connection could circle bring to them? And perhaps you might write a sentence. My vision for my community through circle is. My vision for my community through holding circle is. I can see Emma's putting it in the chat. And if you can't get the precise wording, it doesn't matter. What impact you want to have for your community? What is that? And then finally, for those of you who want to focus in on the world, imagine a world where going to circle is as common as yoga class or something like therapy. What kind of cultural healing might be possible when people gather in truth and courage and deep listening? What kind of cultural healing becomes possible when people gather in truth and courage and deep listening? And so you might write, my vision for the world through circle is. And you won't get all of those now. And I'm just going to invite you to take a couple of minutes and just focus on one of those. And you'll have access to the replay, which we'll send out in the morning, so you can revisit these questions. And perhaps I can put them in the email that will go out with the replay and also in our Facebook group for those of you who are part of that. So don't worry, everybody, you're not going to have the questions taken away if you want to sit with them. Just pick one that calls to you now and just write a couple of sentences. My vision for my community through the circle is supporting other women to feel united through strength, to create a community of empowered women. Beautiful. Raising resilient women to help raise resilient children. Domestic abuse is at epidemic levels and 100,000 children in care. Annie, it's fine if you've been answering them all. There's space for them all. Enabling others to stand up for what they believe in without feeling scared. That's been a really unexpected side effect of Circle for me. You know, the way I stood at the beginning and said, this is what I stand for. I don't think I ever would have done that if I hadn't found my voice in Circle, because I want people in my spaces who align with that open-mindedness, who have that open heart. Reach those who feel helpless, powerless, and alone. My vision for the world through Circle is building empathy, love for others who are not like us, coming away realizing that we're more connected to each other. Beautiful. My vision for the world is to re-normalize time for important conversations, less reactivity, quieter voices amplified and holding fast. Gorgeous, Laura. Thank you. For those of you who are in the Facebook group, I'm going to invite you to come in and to share some of these so we can start to gather them. Can you feel the immense power and possibility of what's been shared this evening? How much impact might be created if we all went out and did something, if we all went out and held one circle that then became 10 circles, that then became 100 circles, that then became, I don't know how many I've held now, but it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And there are women in the community who have trained with me over the years who've held hundreds and hundreds. You know, it's all slowly, slowly, slowly starting to ripple out. So let's hold that thought of what would happen if we actually went all out there and did it. And I want you to hold that throughout this week. And what we're going to be doing tomorrow is quite different. I'm going to be moving away from this idea of visioning and remembering. And you've met me now. We've built some trust, so I can start to build, give you a sense of some of the more practical things of what you need to consider when you are holding your spaces. And I'm going to talk about the very basics of what I include in my circles and how a circle is structured on a really top level, but also all of the invisible work that happens that you might not realize is going on under the surface if you're sitting in the room, the kind of invisible architecture of the space. So hopefully tomorrow you'll get some inspiration and some really practical ideas about how to hold spaces and the aspects of your facilitation, which are really, really important, so that you are equipping yourself in the right way to hold spaces ethically and responsibly, because we don't want to be causing harm. We want to be holding incredibly robust spaces. And I just want to take a moment to slow down and to close the space with sharing some words from a facilitator, an extraordinary facilitator who I trained some years ago in 2018. She is an actor. She has gone on to facilitate all sorts of different kinds of spaces, including spaces for women within sister stories. But we were, when she was training, we were doing this exercise about what do we believe about circles? So similar to what we've done tonight. And she went away and she said, "Oh, I've recorded something. Do you mind if I share it with you?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Please do." And so she sent me this. So you might want to, there we go. Hopefully you can see Amelia. Turn up your volume for this because it's a little bit quieter. I'm just going to leave you with these words from her.
I believe in women. I believe women have the right to be heard. I believe women are complex and compassionate, full of fire, full of stories, and deserve a place, a safe space to hold themselves whole. I believe women have power. I believe women have the power to uplift other women, to connect into the rich tapestry of interconnectedness that is life. I believe women can unlock, derobe, debunk, and thrive. I believe in women. I believe that there's a kernel of hope in all of us that wants to be heard, and Circle can help that grow. I believe in women. I believe in women. I believe in the sisterhood. I believe that through sharing and deep listening, we can understand and empower. I believe in magic. The magic of the circle. The magic of womanhood. The magic of love. I believe in women, and just in case it wasn't clear, I believe in women.
So, taking a moment to just soak up what we've shared tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so present. Thank you for pouring so much of yourselves into it. I can't do it on my own. And I hope that gives you a sense of what we'll be doing over the next couple of days, the kind of energy we're bringing to this space, a kind of intention. Thank you for being here. I would love to close by just inviting you to share a word about how you're leaving today's space. Fulfilled, held, calmer, uplifted. I believe in magic, hopeful, fire, love, tender, inspired, fired up, restored faith, richer, in circle, beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And I'm going to close our meeting just to hit 8:30, the time that I promised we'd end at. And to close, Emma, are you able to work out how we can unmute everyone so that we can all just say goodbye and hear one another's voices? Want to unmute and say goodbye.
Everyone,
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
sending love.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
I am with the
Thank
end.
you so much.
Oh, so much love to everyone.
You are women heroes.
Beautiful.
Sounds awful.
Love.
Everybody.
Shine in your light, ladies.
Thank you.
Shine in your light.
Tomorrow.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
To leave.
Bye.
Again, hopefully stay.
I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.
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 You